Welcome, everybody, to Mahamudra for the People. It's very nice to see you all. I hope everyone's doing well. I make sure everyone can hear me. I got headphones on, so I don't know, like sort of cutting my own head off and dancing through the sky. I don't know how else I could sound better. Very good. Okay, so I won't be cutting my head off today. So, in continuation, I guess, with this collection of dohas put together by 60th Karmapa, we're going to move on to the next one. We finished Virupa's Doha Kosha last week, I believe, and now we're moving on to Tilopa's Doha Kosha. So now, it's as if Tilopa's like, oh yeah, you think you have a Doha Kosha? So do I. And check mine out. So in the spirit of friendly Siddha competition, we're going to now engage Tilopa's Doha Kosha. And this is shorter. So it's as if he was saying, oh yeah, I could do more with less. So let's see how this goes. So we may actually even be able to get through this entire one today in this one session. So unfortunately, the thing that this means that if we don't achieve enlightenment by the end of this session, then we're in trouble. I would like to begin though by setting a timer, and we can do a little bit of sitting as a way of settling into the natural state. So allow yourself to relax. Allow yourself to sit stable, grounded. You don't need to put a lot of production into it. Just allow yourself to rest. Your body resting freely, naturally. Allow your breath to just come and go as it does. We're not practicing pranayama, hatha yoga. We're just resting into the nature of mind. Allow your mind to be like space, free of the 3 times. Nothing to control. Nothing to make happen. Nothing to figure out. Nothing to reflect on. No meaning to be made. Just open, vast, free, relaxed spaciousness. And we'll sit like this for 12 minutes. And slowly just bring yourself back to this group. Okay, so Tilopa begins with an kind of exhortation or invitation. Welcome to glorious Vajrasattva. Welcome to Mahamudra. Welcome to the unchanging intrinsic nature of cognition. So the teaching here is divided into 4 parts, right? 5 parts actually: view, meditation, action, goal, and ultimate goal, and then the epitome at the very end. So what is that? It's 6 sections. And he begins with the view. The body-mind complex, right? The elements of perception, the sense fields, all appear as Mahamudra and dissolve into Mahamudra. Only Mahamudra exists. So the body-mind, the elements of perception, the sense fields, all appear as Mahamudra and dissolve into Mahamudra. Only Mahamudra exists. So as we were just sitting, you most likely encountered sound. Right? If you were sitting with your eyes open and visual consciousness, thought activity, temperature, every kind of felt experience. Each one of these things arose, and depending on our ability to let ourselves rest very naturally, without attachment, right? Without aversion, without holding on, without ignorance. The ignorance being that, oh, there is somebody here to experience these things. Oh, and now I'm cold. Oh, now I'm hot. Oh, now I'm irritated. Now I'm happy. Right? That all of these things happen, they arise out of Mahamudra, they dissolve back into Mahamudra. Everything that happens is just this fleeting experience that comes and goes. It's kind of like the inhalation and exhalation of the natural state. And we find this is actually similar with Hatha Yoga as well. In the context of Hatha Yoga, we say that everything is the natural expression of Rigpa. Right? Very similar. But from the experience of Mahamudra, so what does that mean? That means this free, open, non-referential, without center, without edge, experience of mind essence. Things arise. Experiences, the senses, the sense organs, etc. All the different kinds of consciousness that arise. And when we're in the flow, as it were, these things just dissolve back into that experience of open, non-referential space. So when we become triggered, oh, what's that smell? What's that sound? I'm tired of that sound. That sound is irritating. That smell, oh, what is that? That thought, why do I keep thinking this? Creating, responding is creating, etc. Just leaving it alone. Right? It's kind of like active passivity. So this is the very beginning of the view. Temporal relativity and its absence are concept free, where meaning and value are no longer projected. Right? So this temporal relativity. So I'm going to pick on Eric. Because Eric is beautiful today. He's feeling beautiful because it's the spring, right? I don't know if it's officially the spring, but it feels like it. Right, temporal relativity. So Eric's temporal relativity and its absence are concept free. Our meaning and value are no longer projected. No longer projected. That sounds good, right? If we could just turn that switch off. Right? And know, oh, that thing is big. That thing is small. That's expensive. That's cheap. That's high quality. That's low quality. I can only afford no quality. Right? Projecting, projecting, projecting. In our Western cultures, all we do is project, speculation, right? This is worth that. The other thing is worth another thing, right? So Mahamudra is really this kind of transgressive renunciation of value. Very nice thing, right? Renunciation of value judgment, renunciation of projection. And of course, it's not renunciation in the sense that renunciation requires some kind of effort, right? This is natural arising freedom of value judgment. Right? This is why there are these instructions, practice like a simpleton. And so to be politically incorrect, practice like someone who's so stupid, they can't determine the value of things. I don't know. Right? That's the Mahamudra position. I don't know. All appearance is illusory, but in its self-nature, neither beginning nor end, nor first nor last. All appearance is illusory, but in its self-nature, neither beginning nor end, nor first nor last. In this illusoriness, there was a teaching I gave on Saturday, which wasn't recorded by accident, so maybe it never happened. Shabkar's ninth song in the Flight of the Garuda, which I will somehow record this week and put back up onto Vimeo. But in this, the Shabkar also says everything is a product of the mind, right? And it's the same thing. Everything is illusory. And of course, in our literal zeal, we will look to objects. So that book is real. I can feel it. It's tangible. My kids love it. Right? It's not illusory. That glass on the table has some water in it. The water is apparent. The glass is there. If I touch it, I can feel it. It's not illusory. And so the point is not that, it's illusory and everything just disappears. Right? This has everything to do with relaxing beyond imputed meaning and projected value, projected existence. Everything that appears, appears. And it is illusory. It is illusory because every object is beyond its name. It's beyond its value. It's beyond its designation. It just is the same way we are. This is what makes the simultaneity of the two possible. And then the next line, that it is without neither beginning nor end, nor first nor last. It's talking about causality. Right? Everything we're experiencing in this moment. It's causal beginning, when that bicycle was made, that's hanging on the wall. Its end. The appearance is still there. It's ending. I don't know. So what is being pointed out here about the view is this relinquishment of storytelling. and letting go of the constant storytelling. It's funny, yesterday I went to go check out this farm, go look at it. It's so beautiful and amazing. I was with this very, very kind person who is quite graciously spending a lot of time helping to look at these places, and all for free, like out of his own kindness of his heart. And at one point where we're trudging around, and I felt this kind of Mahamudra spaciness, like right in the middle of this big, 100+ acre farm. And he asked me a question, and I didn't even, I heard the sound, but the meaning just kind of flew out. I was standing there and I was like, oh, this is big space. I felt a little stupid. But it's funny because and is it eighth Karmapa is pointing out the Dharma, ninth Karmapa is pointing out the Dharmakaya. He says that one of the side effects of Mahamudra is that you become very forgetful, right? And why is this the case? It's because we're not holding on. We're not, there's no grasping, right? And it's funny too, because I've also experienced this in my dark retreats, and this happened also in the last one, where even in the middle of a thought that was occurring, I forgot it. It was a very odd feeling, right? You're thinking this train of thought, and then it totally slipped. And then it's like, oh, not important, right? As opposed to typically, we begin to kind of, chart everything. We wake up, what am I feeling? Well, I'm feeling dread again. Or I'm feeling joy. Yay, it's a spring morning, right? Or whatever. I don't even know what season this is. And then collecting data. Who put this here? Why is that there? What's this? How big is that? That's small. That's big. This is cold. That's hot. Memorizing things, And this is where that whole de Kooning slippery glimpser metaphor is very helpful for me. Right? Adding so much vegetable oil to your paint that it remains wet for a year. Right? And why did he like to do this? He liked to do it so that he could walk by 6 months after he painted something and just run a finger through it or a brush, and it was still wet. Right? A long drying process. Right, so this whole recording, who cares? When did that salt and pepper shaker come to be? I mean, really? Who cares? Or if, as Keith Gunn likes to say, why go there? Why go there? Why go to that place? Whatever enters the intellectual sphere loses its authenticity in dualization. Oh, that's good, right? We all feel this way, right? So if I was like, oh, all right, I'm going to pick on somebody. Hold on a second. Somebody I can see. So Larry, there's Larry holding his chin. And you know what about people who hold their chins and they smile and they wear headphones and have glasses? And all of a sudden, the authenticity of Larry begins to dissolve, right? In this dualization. Right? So take a look at something in the room you're in. Don't look at me. Just look at an object, right? And look at how the quality of it and your relationship to it and its meaning and its value and everything begins to change the moment you begin to project onto it dualistic meanings. And then try and let go of any meaning and just let the thing be there. Like a bump on a log. Right? It doesn't need you. Right? Nothing needs you. Right? Just look at another thing. Does that need me? Does it need me to contextualize it? Does it need me to birth it? Does it need me to feel for it? It's just there. Look at another thing. Look at a doorknob. What does the doorknob need? Does it need to be handled? Every morning, is it like, oh, please touch me? Warm me up with your hand. Right? Does it need you to determine its quality, its worth, its value? A good next step would be to look in the mirror and do that. Right? Do I need that? Do you need that? I'll ask all of you. Do you need my dualistic assessment / projection for you to be? No. Do you care? I hope everyone's doing like this. Then you're a good sitter. If you go like this, then you have to start all over again. Whatever enters into the intellectual sphere loses its authenticity and dualization. Both guru and disciple demote the intellect, right? Demote the intellect. Demote it. You're fired. And I sound like Donald Trump. We should be getting arrested today, right? That's what they say. Maybe right now. It's just happening in New York City, right over here. But I don't know where that is because I'm over here in the center of space. Without differentiating mind from no mind, focus upon the unity that thaws multiplicity. Clinging to unity, however, pure value is somniferous. So without differentiating mind from no mind, focus upon the unity that thaws multiplicity. And thawing the hardness of multiplicity. Mind, no mind. Not differentiating. And so this is really about analysis. Oh. Mind, no mind. Real, not real. Right, let the experience of pure being allow the multiplicity of all things to just happen as they do. Of course, sometimes we wake up in a bad mood and then everything is bad. Sometimes we are feeling really great. Everything is great. But really, everything is just happening. Happening in its own time. Happening in its own way. Just let everything be. And everything is beautiful. Even though everything has probably been made in a factory. Unfortunately, most things. Right? Clinging to unity, however, pure value is somniferous. So clinging to the unity of it. This is like this intellectual, this is where we lose our Mahamudra to striving. Oh, everything is one taste. What is that? That's one big label, right? It's just one big stamp. And that's the wrong kind of thing. The Great Seal, Mahamudra, is not, some intellectual stamp of like, all of this is empty. Yeah. No, how do you know that? How do you experience that? You experience it by letting go completely. Let go of that mind that it needs to classify. That mind that needs to spray its urine all over to mark its territory. Right? Let that go. Right? Be a cloud, be a bird, be a speck of dust floating in the air. So this is the view. The meditation. I, Tilopa, have nothing to teach. My existence is solitary, but I am never alone. My eyes are closed, but I do not sleep. My mind is innocent, but I am free of duplicity. My existence is solitary, but I'm never alone. Right? So allow yourself to sit for a moment. Let your breath be free and natural and relaxed. Let your mind be spacious ease. And just be. In one way, when we're resting like this, we are solitary, but we are never alone. We are part of the multiplicity of everything that's co-arising with us. Whether your eyes are open or closed in meditation, even in this deep sleep, deep rest, we're not sleeping. And my mind is innocent. I'm free of duplicity. Innocent in that spacious, sophisticated, naive way that Mahamudra is. Free of duplicity. We're not tricking anybody. We're not playing a joke on anything. But we're also not taking it very seriously. Everything is just happening. People walking on the sidewalk. Cars going by. Thoughts perhaps passing through our mind or not. Know the stream of primordial purity in a silent mind and in nonverbal, unqualified suchness. Apprehend fortuitous forms as awareness. So know the stream of primordial purity in a silent mind. And in nonverbal, unqualified suchness. Apprehend fortuitous forms of awareness. So this also very similar to Dzogchen, Hatha Yoga. Know the stream of the primal purity in the silent mind. Now, what is the silent mind? It's not a mind that has been beaten into silence. It is a mind where everything is naturally settled. And still things might happen. Blip. Thoughts. Sensations. But they're allowed to occur without any kind of agitation, without any kind of freak out kind of response. Oh my God, not again. Oh my God, there's another thought. Like a very jaded grandmother watching her kids. I think that's mine, right? So like grandmother who's seen it all. I've seen it all. Right? Just watching. I mean, throw out some of your ages in the chat. How old are you? And you can lie, that's fine. I think Eric must be 16 years old. I guess that's not legal. Okay, very good. Yeah, okay. So of all of these years, God, and if we added them all up, that would be quite a number, right? So here we are. Who has had a relationship to thought activity for the entire time you've been alive, right? We all know. So for example, Marianne, 39, right? So that's, 39 years of experiencing your mind, right? Melissa, 67 years of experiencing thought activity. Right? Gendon, 38 years of experiencing thought activity. Haley, 29 years. Larry, 70 years of experiencing thought activity. Bruce, 75 years of experiencing thought activity. Yes, I know what you mean. It does feel longer than that, right? So the silent mind is not produced by repressing thought, but after all of these years of knowing thought activity, right? Why are we still surprised by it? That's very interesting, right? Thoughts come and go. Even the most insidious, sticky ones, you know? So the still mind is the mind that awareness has penetrated. And this awareness is neither excited nor not excited by thoughts that arise. It's just there, it holds them. But there isn't that need to chase. And this is the thing, right? At what point can we just let go? Like say, oh my gosh, man, this show has been going on and on. It's like reruns over and over and over again. Here I am, still glued to the TV of my mind, watching, participating, watching, reacting. Oh no, oh, stay away, right? So let awareness set your conceptual mind free. Let that old grandmother of awareness who has seen it all just say, oh yeah, that's what you're doing now. No big deal. And then when we sit like this, that natural stillness arises, right? There's no really uncomfortable self-conscious need to squash anything. Right? We've all been around the block. Some of us have been around the block a lot more than others. And when it comes to thought activity in particular, right? Give ourselves a break and let old granny awareness come and hold you. Know the stream of primordial purity in a silent mind. So, and this is talking about awareness itself. That primordial purity cannot be stained, cannot be impacted, does not conform to your value judgments, does not conform to projection, can't be held up, you know, can't be shut down because it's just there. Right? This is the primordial purity, that unstainable quality of grandmother awareness, right? Who is naturally silent because they've seen it all. The ground has seen it all. Imagine being the screen upon which projected films are projected, right? The same film for a run. Maybe something's going to show in a theater for, you know, whatever, a month. 5 shows a day for 30 days. And that screen is like, all right, here we go again. Right? This is the ground, able to hold, but not the image itself. Awareness is not the thought itself. So know the stream of primordial purity in a silent mind and in non-verbal, unqualified suchness. Right? And so this is getting into that deep experience of knowing and experiencing thought activity as it comes and it goes, and as it doesn't leave a stain, doesn't leave a mark, doesn't have a value, especially when we put down all this projection. And the next line, apprehend fortuitous forms of awareness. And that's all thoughts are. Awareness of pain, awareness of anger, awareness of sadness, awareness of exhaustion, awareness of concept. It's just there. No labeling, no chasing, no ghettoizing. Just letting everything come and go. We may sense delusiveness, but do not discriminate. What then is satisfaction and frustration, success and failure? Right? This is where we kind of snipped, right? Hope and fear. We may sense delusiveness, but do not discriminate. This discrimination, this contrast, this comparison, this constant value judgments, high, low, big, small, young, old, hard, soft. We're able to see the differences between things. Rubber, metal, wood, plaster, glass, rope. But we're not getting involved in the details. We're not even labeling. Right? Can you see things without labeling? Go look at the wall. Look at the wall. Hopefully there's something hanging on the wall or something next to the wall or something. Like look at something like some corner of your room where things are made of different materials. Are you able to behold that without labeling what each of the materials are? The textures are like, right, without labeling, without analyzing, without chasing, without categorizing. Like a simpleton. Staring at the corner. Yeah, you can, right? Yeah? No? Okay. I get those scissors out. Start snipping the concept. Snipping the labels. How about when you're tired? You can do that? Is that easier? Yeah. What then is satisfaction and frustration, success and failure, right? When we experience all of this, right? There's no, what a cruel thing to do to ourselves, right? Success or failure. Like being electrocuted. Not a very nice thing. Oh, that was successful. Oh, you're a failure. How silly, right? Completely silly thing to do. And yet it's a very natural. We're not a natural. It's not natural. I always need to correct myself when I say that. It comes very quickly. It is not natural. The poorly habituated samsaric response. That's what it is. Okay, then we're going to move on to the next, right? So that was meditation. So I'm just going to sum up meditation just so that people can't say, well, you never taught me Mahamudra, Lopa. Weirdo sitting there with nothing. He has nothing to teach. Already not very valuable to me. His existence is solitary, but he is never alone. I do this like a commercial for Tlapa. His eyes are closed, but he does not sleep. His mind is innocent, and he is free of duplicity. Know the stream of primordial purity in a silent mind, and in nonverbal, unqualified suchness. Apprehend fortuitous forms of awareness. All appearance, when beheld by awareness, is one of the many fortuitous forms of awareness. We may sense delusiveness, but do not discriminate. What then is satisfaction and frustration, success and failure? So now I move into the action. Action. Ready? Let's go. Do not copy the ascetic enduring austerity in the forest. Okay, first thing, don't do that. We will not find happiness in cleanliness and ritual purity. And we will not find freedom in worship of the gods. Discover indiscriminate mind in the contingencies of the path. Oh, I like that. Do not copy the ascetic enduring austerity in the forest. Right? So we don't need to fast. We don't need to walk on hot coals. Rodrigo, I know that's what you're going to do after this. Right? We do not need to lay down on a bed of nails, Jamie. You do not need to do that. We will not find freedom in worship of the gods, Richard. So put down that lamb, that nice New Zealand lamb that I'm sure you were right about to sacrifice. Discover indiscriminate mind in the contingencies of the path. I like the sentence. It's long and secretive. Discover indiscriminate mind in the contingencies of the path. So discover, right, the nature of Rigpa or awareness through all of the twists and turns of the meditative process and life. And what's nice is that this really pops, right? Especially for us lay people here, right? So when your kids tell you you're weird, or when your boss is inconsiderate, or when you're getting ready to go to the beach and it's hailing, or when you have a stomach cramp, or when you stub your toe, or when you drink something sweet, or when you have a really beautiful in-season piece of fruit. When you smell ripe guava, or a very ripe pineapple. When you look into the eyes of a loved one, close friend. And when you experience hardship. Right? Experiencing and learning how to be in relationship with Rigpa in all of these everyday events. Right? Discover indiscriminate mind in the contingencies of the path. Right? So you don't need to fast. You don't need to contort yourself like a pretzel. Okay, you don't need to find happiness in cleanliness and ritual purity. So no more bathing. And we will not find freedom in worshiping the gods. This is the action. The goal, the circumstantial goal. So this is divided into two. There's a circumstantial goal and the ultimate goal. The circumstantial goal, the goal is total awareness, the intrinsic nature of cognition. On the path of spontaneous insight, clinging to nothing. Security and ambition renounced, hope and fear forgotten. Supports and defenses discarded. Through this, we may be content. Total awareness. Of course, total awareness is a little, I don't know, for Americans, we're really extreme about things, right? So we're like, total awareness, let's go. Total 100%, 110%. Ooh, signs, shooting people out of cannons. Total awareness, taming lions. Total awareness, all awareness all the time. If you're not aware all the time, then you're not good, right? This is the American way of thinking about things. Yes. Yeah, total awareness, like a zombie. Total aware. I have total awareness. Right? So no, not like that. Total awareness. Just like the nice relaxed yoga in Talopa, just hanging out there. Right, pounding those tilo seeds, right? The sesame seeds to make into oil for prostitutes to use to rub on their clients. Total awareness, right? That's kind of a whole other way of being. Just there, no value judgment. I mean, what a great person to receive instruction from, somebody who had this kind of life experience. It makes me feel very insecure reading these words. I'm very intimidated by him. The goal is total awareness, the intrinsic nature of cognition. The intrinsic nature of cognition, right? So this secret trapdoor in our thoughts and the way we think of mind. Right? Usually we'll think things and then it becomes everything. We're very basic beings in that way. When we feel love, we're so in love. Oh my God, I'm in love. I'm so in love, I'll kill anybody who gets near my beloved. Don't even think a bad thing about my beloved. Definitely don't write a letter to them, etc. Right? We make it all or nothing. But the thought activity, right, whether it's something intense like that, or a designation, green, blue, silver, pink, brown, right behind that is only one thing, and that is awareness. This is the base nature of all of our cognition, is Ritva. The ground of which is experienced through a mind that has no location. It's not here, it's also not here. It's not here, it's not there. Right? It is everywhere, all times. On the path of spontaneous insight, right? Natural, happening as it does. Every thought that happens, every emotion that arises, spontaneous, right? Rangjo, right? Naturally liberating self, right? Naturally arising self-liberation. Rangjo, right? As the thought happens, bink. As the feeling happens, bink. There's no, and they just arise together, right? Like coming together. It's not like one comes and then the other one sees it, right? That's dual, right? It's happening all at one time. It's like that movie, Everywhere, something. I did not see it yet. On the path of spontaneous insight, clinging to nothing. Can't cling to Eric's marvelous hair or Rodrigo's marvelous hair. I can't cling to. Well, you put your hand down there. I was going to talk about clinging to your chin. You have a super knowledge. You can't cling to Casey hiding behind his name. Let's see if I can provoke you out of your name, but I can't. It seems Security and ambition renounced, hope and fear forgotten, supports and defenses discarded. May we be content. Right? This is this kind of reference to the nakedness, right? Nakedness in the sense of there not needing to be a defense. No need to fight. No need to hide. No need to project. The ultimate goal. The mind's self-interest assuaged, ego disbands, and the dichotomies of waking dream are resolved. The mind's self-interest assuaged. The ego disbands. Like, oh well, we tried. Now we're just going to dissolve into Rigpa, and we'll let this person become a Buddha. And the dichotomies of the waking dream are resolved. Right? All of the dichotomies, all of that tension, all of that never enough, never good enough, all of the constant comparison. It's interesting to think of this from the standpoint of all of the wasted energy comparing things, you know, comparing. Good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. Think of how often you do that all day. Could be better. Good, bad, good, bad. So that just wears itself out. The mind's self-interest assuaged, ego disbands. The mind's self-interest, right? That's investment. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Do you know who you're talking to? Why aren't you responding? L, not responding, sitting there. Do you know who I am? After a while, thing about Mahamudra and Hatha Yoga is that there's a part of us that it's almost as if we become so disgusted. You know, so disgusted by our non-existence. Oh God, fine, just go, be free. Jesus Christ, leave me alone. Right? No ground, never any ground, nowhere to stand, no one to be a jerk to. Right? So the mind's self-interest assuaged, the ego disbands. It's like, oh, thank God. Oh, you know, what to do. And the dichotomies of the waking dream are resolved. Right? Like checkmate. And so the song ends with the epitome. Without thought, deliberation, or analysis, without meditation or action, without doubt or expectation, mental constructs, all dualities spontaneously disperse, and the original face of mind shines through. I'm going to repeat this one more time because this is very profound. Right? And it's hard to digest if you're really obsessed with being Buddhist. I'll throw this out there. You can think about it. Without thought, deliberation, or analysis, without meditation or action, without doubt or expectation, mental constructs, mental constructs, all dualities spontaneously disperse, and the original face of mind shines through. No thought, no deliberation, no analysis. Don't be smart. Don't be brilliant. Don't be well read. Don't form an argument. Don't take a position. Without meditation or action, don't sit down to practice. Don't get up to practice. Don't lay down to practice. Just be. Just be. Without doubt or expectation. What's going to happen today? If everyone could just write in the chat, how many years have you been practicing Dharma? Oh, come on. All right. Okay, yeah. Right. 666. Oh my God. Wow. You look good for all that practice. Yeah. 30 plus or more. Yeah. Okay. So we got some people who have really been practicing for a long time. Right. So who would have thought, right? When you read all of the the lives of the 84 Mahasiddhas, the one thing most of them have in common is they all happen to get enlightened in 12 years. Right? When you read all those stories, what's so magical about 12? Right? So many of us have been practicing over that amount of time. Actually, Genin should get enlightened next year in 11 years. You can sit up here. Exactly. Perfect. I look forward to it. So, expectation. Who has ever had expectation? Well, by the time yeah, see, yes, I know. It's like a bad, like halitosis of the spirit. Right? Without doubt or expectation. That's a hard one, right? So, but this, is also saying like, don't worry, just relax, right? Give that up. Takes as long as it does. Ideally, a few months, LOL. But seriously, maybe, right? If we can really kind of get out of our own way, get out of our own head, that might be as long as it takes. But if we sit down and every day we're like, oh my God, I've been doing this forever. All right, let me assume the position. Oh, right. And here we go again. Oh boy, creaky bones, creaky mind, creaky concept mind. When are you going to free up? Okay. So, you see this to some extent in some Mahamudra texts, but you also find it, I think, a little bit more prevalently described in Hatha Yoga texts, Dzogchen texts, about really shaking it up, right? Like Rushan, outer Rushan, inner Rushan to some extent, yelling, hey! And hung and ho! And, everything, right? Just to kind of shake us out, right? Go run around, or like the, in the Treksha retreat last year at Pure Land Farms, I sometimes ask people to get up, walk around your meditation cushion like a cat or a dog, and then sit back down, right? Just to kind of break it up, break it up, break it up. So shake yourself up from time to time, right? And you don't need to do jumping jacks, but you could do that, right? You could lay on your belly on the floor and then roll around and then sit back down, or do something silly, make all sorts of weird sounds and then come back down, right? Anything to get us out of this hyper serious thing. Like, it's funny, there was one year when Bokor Rinpoche was alive, we were all in Bodh Gaya and I went to go see him, and I don't know how we got on the topic, but he told me, he was like, all of these like Western people come to see me and they ask me why like Tibetans can't stop moving when they're at the stupa. They're either prostrating around or they're doing as much kora, like circumambulation, as they can over the course of a day, right? Going around and around and around and around. And like the Tibetan grannies have these really sharp elbows, and they're just bam, bam, like knocking you out of the way. It's like, I'm going to accumulate the most merit I can. So Bokram is like, all the Western people ask me about that. Like, why are they doing this? And I explain. It's like, but then all the Tibetans come and ask me, why are these Western people sitting like statues? And then I have to explain that, well, for them, it's, they preference basically, meditation. Right? And so the thing is like wherever you are stuck in you're like, this is what it is. It's this, it's like this. I tell you, man, it's like this. You got to shake it up. You got to do something different. Break it up a little bit. Get out of your own head, right? This is really important. Right? And this is why Mahasiddhas are some of the best writers and singers about Mahamudra, right? You don't find any of these kind of like milquetoast boring people getting up and saying, hey, thus I have heard. Get on your knees and pray to a God. Adopt austerities and worship the gods. You must be clean, very, very clean all the time. Right? No, they're all usually like, Virupa's like, I'll pay the bill when the sun moves. And Tilopa's pounding is like, I gotta make this oil for these prostitutes, right? And Luipa is sitting there at the banks of the Ganges. These fish guts are great, Luapa is like, wait, the bikini stole my blanket and ate it. And it never ends. It never ends. They're all quite weird, which is a good thing. And it's I don't think it's just a literary device, right? There is something in that. Don't be boring. Don't let your mind get all calcified. Yes, so queer. It is very queer. Yes. Right. So without doubt or expectation, mental constructs, all dualities. This is really queer too, right? All dualities spontaneously disperse. And the original face of mind shines through. I like that spring sun that is illuminating Eric's face, warming him. Right? So I'm going to repeat the epitome one last time. Without thought, deliberation, or analysis, without meditation or action, without doubt or expectation, mental constructs, all dualities spontaneously disperse. And the original face of mind shines through. When the colophon Philippa's Dohakosha, his final statement upon the practice of Mahamudra was translated from Sanskrit into Tibetan by the Indian sage Bharatsana. Amen. I threw that in there. He didn't really write that. So this was it, and it's quite nice that it was his final statement because it was so well done. So we'll have a little bit of time for some questions or reflections. Before we do, though, I just wanted to remind folks that there's this day-long retreat through Bhumi Sparsha focusing on Padampa Sangye. And I will begin by giving the empowerment for the Padampa Sangye Guru Yoga. And then I'll give the transmission for the Guru Yoga. And then we'll have some time to practice the Guru Yoga together. And then we'll also break Guru Yoga down a little bit because it's a very uncomfortable topic. It's like talking about Samaya. These are some sticky topics, but Guru Yoga, as a way of getting free, as a way of shifting out of this, overly myopic, overly dual, overly tired, overly stressed out, position that we often find ourselves in, and not as a way of allowing ourselves to open up to the experience of what the guru really is, right? Which in some cases was a wild yogin like Padampa Sangye. And then in other cases was that kind of flash of fast and intense awareness that Padampa Sangye really kind of manifested, either as in the form of Mahamudra, or the deep realization of Prajnaparamita, or even, I think we could even say to some extent, Hatha Yoga, even though technically his historical connection to Hatha Yoga hasn't necessarily been proved. But he, the person who is actually the first person to bring the sarma, the earliest practice of trauma nagmo from India to Tibet. So that's also very special, right? So this wild yoga, right? Also brought, a very significant Vajravarahi practice to Tibet. And he brought a form of chakra samvara to Tibet, and Agora Mahakala, and many, many things. So he's this wonderful, wild, intensely liberated person who is also kind of the inspiration for Machi Globchen in the creation of the practice of Chi. And he was a contemporary of Milarepa, and may very well be Bodhidharma, who knows? It's all very hard to tell. Weirdly enough, he came from, this is the testament to his wildness. He went from South India to live in Dingri, right at the base of Mount Everest. I don't know how he picked that. It's like, moving from Boca Raton to, I don't know where, to some colder place in Colorado. Very extreme. But then, of course, he had many students. And interestingly enough, some of his students were Nyingma, and through association with him, this Nyingma kind of forgive me, predilection with Troma Nagmo really kind of arose, right? And so the first terma associated with the Troma Nagmo arose from the mind stream of one of Padampa Sangye's main students, who was Tibetan, which is very interesting, culturally. And I think it's also, this is a very good example, actually, of this kind of like creative visionary process or creative visioning that was happening at that time, which really gives Tibetan Buddhism as we know it, this kind of spontaneity that I think, unfortunately easily gets lost in the monastic system. But anyway, Padampa Sangye right at that nexus of this, beautiful transference of profound tantric Buddhism from India to Tibet. So this will be a great way to be able to delve deeply into Guru Yoga, but then also into Padampa Sangye. And then, of course, because it's a Guru Yoga practice, then all of us have the opportunity of touching him, right? And letting him touch us over, what is this, 1800 years, 1900 years, right? So that space of time between he and us. Did I do my math right? No, I'm sorry. 1,200 years. 1,000 years, something like that. Never my strong suit. So math. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, or thoughts they want to share. We've got 8 minutes. Please be very nervous about time while you make your comment. No. Yes, Melissa. Only if you're nervous.
Huh?
Sorry, I was just teasing you. Go on.
I didn't hear you. So at the beginning, when Tilopa says Mahamudra is the only thing that exists, isn't he saying that for the sake of communication and for the sake of contrasting it with samsaric thinking? Because Mahamudra and Rigpa don't essentially exist, right?
Okay. Yeah, it's that's like his elevator pitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, good. All right.
How much Guru Yoga is too much Guru Yoga? That's a good question. Sounds like you might have the answer. How much, Marianne?
No idea.
Well, I mean, again, so I'll really get into that, but I mean, Mahamudra is Guru Yoga. Oh yeah, Jamie.
So I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just like joining the queue. So
Oh no,
if you want to finish.
Yeah, please.
Oh, it's just this concept of, I don't know, like I really like Mahamudra. It's just very much letting go of concepts and just dropping it into like the mystery rather than too much attachment to this like graduated Lama thing, which all my Zen friends also make fun of. When they're trying to slag on Tibetan Buddhism, they're like, you don't need all that. But it's something I've been contending with because I know I've met some people who are doing non-dro and I've like started doing my own kind of homebrew non-dro, but then I have these reservations about, is that wrong to do your own non-dro without, learning from a certain tradition? My friends are from the Dujon Tersa Terma tradition, but then I quite like it, but I'm just getting to know it. Is it wrong to start non-dro without? I don't know. These are the things I contend with. Like, what's the kosher thing to do? And then, Tara Mandala, they have this newer terma that embraces the divine feminine with the Osel Nintig terma. Or maybe I should wait for their next non-dro in a year or something, and I'll do my own non-dro instead while I wait. Is this wrong to I don't know, this is really overthinking all this like more traditional stuff. But I found the practice very powerful, so I don't want to lose the benefit.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So I mean, there are many ways of answering this. So it's one thing. So some traditions have it built into them, so to speak, that the accomplishment of non-dro has to be done before moving into other practices. And so you find this, for example, in the Karmakaju tradition, it's very unlikely that one will encounter a practice like Vajrayogini if one hasn't done the Karmakaju non-dro. And it's not these things haven't been set up to be gatekeepers necessarily, gatekeeping experiences, as much as it is, as you point out, that even in this kind of case of this informally put together non-dro, that it's powerful, right? And so the main thing with most non-dros that consist of doing each of the practices 100,000 times. The main reason why the number is so big is because it's as if to say that within the space of that 100,000 prostrations or 100,000 Vajrasattva mantra recitations or what have you, some kind of shift in experience in relationship to the practice, some kind of benefit will have been experienced, and that causes that helps the practitioner have a nice stable basis in relationship to the other practices that we build on top. So I can only say, out of respect for the Dujam Tursar tradition, that I don't have the qualification to say, for them in their system, that doing anything outside of their system is appropriate if you want to be able to practice the terma cycles, that leads into. Of course, I will also say that Nunjo is an invention, right? It didn't really exist until somewhat recently, meaning the past few centuries. In the Karma Kaju context, the Nunjo that you find there is technically considered the Mahamudra Nunjo, right? And so this Nunjo was instituted as a way of creating a stable basis for people to practice Mahamudra. But I think a lot of these things were actually systemization gone wild, which is to say that, like, back in the day, like when we read like Naropa and Tilopa's biographies, you see that people, and even Milarepa's biography, and even to some extent Marpa's biography with respect to his whole journey to India, is that all of these people had to go through a series of trials and difficulties in order to connect with Dharma. And these trials and difficulties, in some cases, their teachers put them through them, and others, in Marpa's case in particular, it was just the kind of what it meant to go to India at that time, travel primarily on foot, no refrigeration, right? So the foodborne diseases and stuff like this were more of an issue. Bandits, like things that I have not experienced necessarily going to India. So all of that is this way of, crystallizing the intent and the, even the spiritual libido, you could say, of the practitioner to become more and more focused, right? More and more, dedicated in practice. All this is to say that I think, in a technical sense, we could say that Nunjo can ultimately be, there are equivalencies. And I've spoken with, like, Lama Rad and I have discussed this at length in the past. In the contemporary Western context, what would an equivalency kind of Nunjo be? Right. So, for example, like, you could do the refuge prayer 100,000 times, and maybe rather than prostrations, because that's a kind of loaded kind of activity sometimes for people, going to work with people who are unhoused, right? Maybe at a soup kitchen, right? And with this way of focusing on every face that you meet as you give out and distribute food is a reflection of your own face, right? Or a reflection of the face of all of the gurus, right? Or you could do Vajrasattva, in some kind of Vajrasattva mantra you could just do, that would be fine. Maybe though mandala offerings could be, again, some kind of service of giving to those in need, right? Rather than, even Trungpa Rinpoche and that book, The Torch of Certainty, which kind of describes the Karma Kaju Nunjo, admits the kind of bizarre, for the Western person, when that book was written, when Trungpa was alive, the kind of bizarre nature of, envisioning Mount Meru and the 4 continents as some kind of, representation of the universe, which, and now in the 21st century, is very, it's like we're using an ancient concept of, the universe rather than all of the wonderful ones we have now. And of course, Guru Yoga can be, shifted in any which way. So I think there's room to move, and I sincerely do hope that in the future people will look at revisioning some of these things, because I think it will speak to Is it necessary for all people for this to be revisioned? No, not necessarily. But is it helpful for many people? Yes, I think so. You know, and you know, I already have enough people throwing rocks at me, so I will let others take that one, and I'm going to give that one to Richard to start a new Nunjo system in New Zealand. But seriously, I think I mean I think you're onto something, Jamie. And at the same time, you know, these things need to be done with some consideration just for the people who hold the traditions, and keep them alive. I would not be surprised though if you met with some of the lamas from these traditions behind closed doors, one-on-one, and ask them, and you might actually be surprised by what they say. You know, things are often that way. What's said publicly is one thing. What's said privately tends to be a lot more open and experimental. That's something to consider. So, in any event, it's lovely to see everybody. I hope you're all doing well and this much closer to awakening, or maybe this much closer to awakening. Let's for a moment just quickly dedicating the merit to all beings who are stuck in such intense dualism that all they do is constantly project good and bad, right and wrong, hope and fear onto every single object, both mental, physical, and any other kind that we're not even aware of. May all beings be able to loosen the belt of the tightness of ego so that the belly of Mahamudra can spread and feel comfortable. May all beings be awakened. May all of you have powerful practice. And I will see you next week. See you later.